Well, hello, welcome to very, very special guest, Caroline. I know that the CC membership have been anticipating this, as I had mentioned that you had a wealth of background research which you were going to share with us, videos or slides. And I think that most people will know who you are, but of course there's going to be quite a few who don't. So I'm sorry to be a bore, but if you could just give us a quick resume and then tell us what we're going to see. And I know you're going to share our screen so that you can talk through it. But the audience are quite with it, so they'll follow you very quickly. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, lovely. Well, thank you so much for inviting me onto your into your membership for today, because I do have some really important information to share, and I have been sharing it around, especially with the Root brand products, which is what we're bringing into the talk today. But I saw something online and I wanted to replicate what I saw to make sure it was correct. It was to do with a pharmaceutical product being magnetic. So I kind of replicated that and I put it under the microscope. So I'm going to show you some images of what I've discovered and how we're going to sort of link that also with how we can detox this particular substance out of our body going forward. But yeah, so I'm Caroline. I'm a naturopath. I've been a naturopath for about 20 years. I originally am from New Zealand, and I had a very sort of natural upbringing out in New Zealand. And when I came to England in my teens, I noticed there was a big contrast between the health of girls in England or children in England compared to New Zealand, and also what they were eating. And that kind of got me onto this journey. And then years later, I was working in London, central London, in sales and marketing. And I became quite sick, traveling up and down on the underground every day. And I had what they called yuppie flu at the time, like post-viral fatigue. And for about a year and a half, nobody could help me. I went from doctor to doctor and half my hair fell out and I couldn't work. So I went back to New Zealand and saw a top naturopath out there, and he had me better within 6 weeks. And he looked at my blood under the microscope, and I thought, right, that's what I want to do the rest of my life. I want to help people. So that's kind of how my journey started with what I do. Yeah. So today I'm going to show you, I'm going to screen share with you, and I'm going to show you some images that of an experiment that I did with a pharmaceutical product. So if I just do the screen share here with you. So I've just got to read a medical disclaimer first of all. So this is a legal medical disclaimer. The information statements made during this video are for educational purposes only and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, or dispense medical advice or prescribe restricted medicines. If you have a medical condition, it is recommended that you consult your physician of choice. So what I wanted to share with you today was I saw on the internet somebody had dissolved an antibiotic capsule, and they had dissolved it in some water and they were using a magnet, and all these magnetic particles were showing up in the water. So I decided I was going to do the same. So I just wanted to run through this little experiment I did with you, because I took it one step further and I put it under the microscope, and you're going to see those images today. So this is a fluxacillin antibiotic, and you can see when you put the magnet up to it, it's quite magnetic on the black side. So I decided to open it up. Oops, it's the same one, sorry. Next one.
That's actually quite shocking and surprising that there's enough metallic stuff in that for the magnet to work.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I wasn't expecting it to work. And by the way, this is an old packet. These are from 2013. This isn't a recent antibiotic packet. So they've been using this magnetic substance in pharmaceuticals for some time. So boom. So So I thought, okay, let's get this into some water and let's see if I can replicate that. Yeah, so I picked it up. And it's just sort of blood temperature water, body temperature as it would be in the stomach, and just dissolved it. We'll just go on to the next one. So it's fully dissolved here now. It took about 5 minutes to do. And then I put it into another glass because that was quite a thick little glass and I wanted the magnet to work through the glass. So I decanted it. We go to the next video. And I put the magnet outside of the glass. And I was so surprised to see so many little black particles being attracted to the magnet. It's like, wow, it's true. It's a bit difficult holding the camera and filming it, but you can see.
So just to ask, this is not the contents of that capsule. It's actually the black part of the capsule.
Well, I dissolved the whole of the black capsule into the water, and as you can see, it was just like it went to an opaque color. But as soon as you put the magnet up, these black particles appear. So when they're in the substance, if you just swish it around, they'll go again. But as soon as you put the magnet up, they appear.
So the question is, why on earth are they putting metallic elements into a capsule? What would be the medical reason for that? Do you know?
Yes, I do. So I've been researching it since, and which we'll come on to in the next slides. But they do put potentially iron oxide magnetic nanoparticles into pharmaceutical products because they say it helps with the efficacy. It helps to deliver product into cell. Okay, so that's the reason. But when we look at how much of that how many of those particles are inside one little antibiotic capsule, you know, if someone's taking a lot of antibiotics, how is the body going to be getting rid of these nanoparticles? You know, and it's not natural to have magnetic particles inside the body, really. But I'll come on to that and explain what I discovered about that. So I decided to, let's get this substance out of the water onto the magnet, because it was the only way to get it out, because the minute you try and sort of take it out, it would disappear. So I had to get it onto the end of the magnet. You'll see in a minute, it sort of jumps up. Yeah. And then what I did was I put that substance onto a glass slide with some of the water together. Oops. And you see that's virtually the entirety of the black substance from half of the antibiotic capsule. So as I said, I put that onto a slide. Oops. And covered it with a cup slip with a little bit of the water, so we had some movement.
What magnification are you going to use?
So I initially went in at 200 times magnification, which I'll show you. And then what happened was the first picture that was on my screen when I pulled it to look at the screen absolutely shocked me. It looked like an alien. So I'm used to just analyzing blood. That's what I do. So I'm not used to seeing all different things like this under the microscope. But I was quite shocked at the picture it showed me, and it was almost like, ew, this is just quite horrible.
So
really. black spot we saw being pulled around by the magnet, I put under the microscope, and I get a horrible face, like an alien face showing up under my microscope. And I'm going to play around now with the magnet like I did before. So that, and this is it just a bit close up. But we go in for, obviously, we're looking around. Now, these are the main substances that I saw under the microscope. And these are what I believe to be iron oxide. And they're moving because I'm actually moving the magnet above the sample under the microscope. So it's moving on the screen. So when you think about how highly magnetized that is, because I was about 2-3 inches away from the actual slide on the microscope. So there's such a pull with the very highly magnetized little particles. And then there was another type of substance which I believe I saw, which was different to these iron oxide particles. So again, when I was using the magnet, can you see how these move? And these were looking a completely different shape. They're like flatter, like sheets. And if I go in for a closer look, this is at 800 times magnification. And you can almost see it's like lattice. They look like pieces of paper, or they're very different to the iron oxide. So then I started to do some research online to see what these what this could be, these different substances. And I found online, these are what iron oxide nanoparticles look like. And I thought, okay, that looks like what we just saw on the screen, the bubbly bits that would move. And then I decided to look at another substance which everyone's talking about. Now, this is 5,000 times magnification on someone else's microscope. And these are like the second images that we saw, I believe. Very, very similar. Because everybody was asking me what they are. So we know for sure that the ingredients in a lot of pharmaceutical companies do include the iron oxide magnetized nanoparticles, but nobody ever mentions the other substance at all. So I didn't, because when we're talking about the Root brand, and I know you've explained to your members, what the Root brand is and the clean slate. The clean slate helps to remove heavy metals from your body, and heavy metals have a very positive charge, as do the iron oxide particles. So, and the Root brands, zeolites, have a very powerful negative charge, and this is part of the reason why they're able to go in and clean up the body of the heavy metals. So I thought, oh, this is a great reason to be able to look at the clean slate and seeing how it's going to clean up any of these positively charged particles. So I put a few drops of the Root product into the substance with the iron oxide particles in it. And I left that for 48 hours to see whether it would have any impact on those magnetized particles in the water. And so this is 48 hours later. And if you remember how easy it was for those particles to come to the side of the glass. And when we're using, you can see it's slightly yellow color from the clean slate. Sorry about that. It's difficult to film and do that at the same time. But there's still some movement, but it's nowhere near as magnetized as it was initially.
It's greatly reduced, hugely reduced.
Yeah, hugely reduced. So what it's doing is it's the clean slate, the zeolite particles are grabbing hold of these positively charged iron oxide particles and basically neutralizing them. So what the clean slate does in your body is it grabs hold of them, and it will pull it out through your system, through your detoxification pathways. And we're definitely seeing that happen here. Yeah, so that was a really good example. And so what I did was I put the clean slate and the iron oxide substance under the microscope and decided to have a look and see whether there was attraction that we could see under the microscope as well. And I was hunting around for a while, and I was so pleased when I caught this image, because this is the zeolite, the clinoptilolite crystal, the beautiful, ultraviolet color that comes up when we look at that under the microscope. And you can see the iron oxide particle latched on to the clinoptilolite crystal. And it was like a real hallelujah moment. I thought, yes, definitely, you can see how the attraction happens and how that pulls it out of the body. So I've done my own tests in the clinic as well with clients who have heavy metal toxicity, using clean slate for 2 months at 20 drops twice a day. And it really does reduce, especially mercury and lead. It really does start pulling it out of the body. So it's a really easy way to remove these heavy metals that are in our land, in our sea, in our air. We're far more toxic now than we ever were. And I think this is the underlying cause for a lot of diseases. And when we have a lot of these metals inside pharmaceutical products, and it's just all around us really, we need to do what we can to detox. It's all very well having really good nutrition, but we also need to detox at the same time for our health.
Well, so, you're absolutely right. What's the point in having good quality organic food if you're being poisoned slowly to death by heavy metals? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And these heavy metals, they compete where minerals should be in the body, especially in detoxification pathways. So they can actually block you from detoxifying further. So not only are they causing havoc in your body, they can also prevent you from detoxifying correctly. But I just wanted to show you this image, because this is clean slate under the microscope. This is 200 times. And this was just such a beautiful image. And you can almost see like the force field around that really big piece of clinoptilolite, like the negative charge. It's like looking at something from outer space. So all these other little crystals, they're all different sizes, but this was the biggest one. And then this is it up closer again still. And then my favorite image is this one. It just looks just so beautiful. So when you look at something that's really good, when you look at this product that's been made in such a special way by Dr. Christina Rahm, for all the different reasons, and then when you compare that to what the other substance looked like from the pharmaceutical brand, you can see there's two different pictures you get here. You get one that looks absolutely gorgeous and one that actually is quite shocking. That's high magnification. I thought that was quite profound. And this is just another image up close. This is 800 times. This is another clinoptilolite crystal. They're actually very beautiful under the microscope. So the other thing that I discovered with this particular product was, this is the initial view that we see when we look at the crystal under the microscope. It's all different sizes and pretty standard. And then you get a few bigger ones, and then the huge one that we saw before. But when I left it on the slide for about 2 to 3 hours, what happened was it started to form these lines. Now, I've never seen that before, because sometimes I leave blood for a couple of hours because we were able to see certain things in the blood. But I've never seen lines form before, which was really interesting. And there were almost like these patterns as well that formed. And I think Dr. Christina Rahm and Clayton have explained that this is something to do with harmonics, and to do with the fact that they are nanoparticles, so it becomes a quantum, and anything quantum has its own intelligence, right? Own energy. So it almost has its own ability to they're sort of like communicating with each other. So on these lines, the crystals would then go onto the lines. And I just want to show you, see these lines? And then the crystals started to line up with the lines. I don't know what it meant at the time. And you can see the crisscross patterns happened. I just thought it was quite amazing. Okay, so this is at 200 times magnification. I just wanted to show you. So I put the clean slate on a slide probably about 3 hours ago, and I left it. And I've come back and I can see that all these lines seem to have formed, which I don't really understand. And all the beautiful zeolite crystals follow the line. Can you see? They seem to want to be on the line. Keep going up. You can see the line I'm talking about, this one here. And there they go, they're on the line. I've never seen anything like this. It's like this, it's a structured line they've created. And they're just so beautiful. I just thought, I took 10 drops myself this morning and I almost cried because I thought, this is inside me. And they're this beautiful ultraviolet blue light emanating from these crystals. I just thought it was so special. Look, can you see the lines? And then when the line comes to an end, sometimes you just zoom across to another line and then they're going. See if we can come to that. See if this comes to an end. Yeah, so we've come to an end of the line here. Can you see this? Like, so there's nothing above, oops, sorry, nothing above there, apart from that little one. So if we just go over here, then up, we've got another line, and off we go again. And here, oh, they're on the lines. Yeah, so that was just quite amazing, really, when we discovered those particular lines. Okay. And then the other experiment I did was I took clean slate before I took my blood, before I took clean slate, and then I took it about 15 minutes afterwards. So this is, when we're looking at blood, we're looking at lovely, these are your red blood cells, the little bubbles. We want them to be lovely and round and roughly the same shape and size. That's a healthy blood profile. And we want them to be not attracted to each other at all. Okay, so this is my blood before clean slate. I mean, it's pretty good anyway. This is a white blood cell for anyone else who's interested. It's a neutrophil, and they make up 90 or 80% of your white blood cell count. And they're the first line of defense for any invading bacteria or viruses that enter your system. This is your innate immune system. Right, and then this was 10 minutes later. No, sorry, that's the same picture. This is 10 minutes later. And you can just see that there was extra movement in the blood was flowing, which is how we want the blood to be, but it did charge up the cells for that, what we call zeta potential, the charge on the outside of the cell. We want that to be lovely and negatively charged and all the cells to be moving correctly. So I think we also discussed about blood, because this is what I've been doing through the last 2 years, is looking at a lot of people's blood. And I'm always asked a question about how people's blood looked after they've had the recent injections. So I've got a few collections just to show some people as to how this can look when we take this injection. So this was a client who came to see me 24 hours after having one of the injections. And this is actually taken from the injection site in the arm. So you could see the video, all the red blood cells should look lovely and round, and the membrane should be very smooth and thick. And you can see how the membrane edge is very compromised in this patient. So this shows us the level of toxicity in the plasma, and the membrane has basically just collapsed, and you can see all these little bubbles and what we call acanthocytes. So the red blood cells are completely compromised here. And with the same patient, this was his peripheral blood sample. So it wasn't just at the injection site, it was...
Karen, I'm just going to interrupt you. Is this why people can't breathe? Is it because it can't transport the oxygen around the body?
Yeah, this inhibits. The red blood cell job is to deliver oxygen and nutrients to tissue and to take away waste products. So the red blood cells aren't able to do their job correctly when they look like this. Yeah, so it's not only going to inhibit oxygen delivery, but also detoxification, which is what we're talking about with the heavy metals. So yeah, it's a very interesting picture. And this is another patient. And this is quite typical, actually. So we're talking about, blood clotting, what we call blood agglutination. And what the picture we've got here is what we call rouleau. So they're stacked together. So when we have this, it's the outside charge of the cells, they should be negative, so they're not attracted to each other. But when we have an element of toxicity in the system or inflammation, then, and the liver gets involved as well and gives out what's called acute phase proteins. You can see these little fibrin formations here, fibrinogen, it looks like little cobweb effect. This person will have probably high C-reactive protein in a standard blood marker test. And we get all the stickiness of the red blood cells. And then we also get what just over here is the platelet aggregations. The platelets start to bud as well through inflammation. So if we see all these three together, the platelets, this is another client just up closer. So similar picture again, we've got platelets budding, fibrin formation, and rouleau or red blood cell agglutination. So there's an element of thrombosis in this client, but we have to mark it 1 to 5, grade each one, grade how bad the rouleau is, grade how bad the C-reactive protein is, and grade how bad the platelet aggregation is. And this is pretty bad for this client. I'll say we're up at about a 4. So it's just showing you what people are experiencing when we're talking about, the thickening of the blood and the blood clots. This is what we're seeing under the microscope.
And we're not going to mention the inoculation, we'll just call it the injection. But all of these clients, had they had the same type of injection?
To be honest with you, yes, because in this country, most have had the same type. I think we know which type that is.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and again, same picture. So this client came to me and she was saying she had it. She was unaware about anything, basically. She came to see me about something completely different, and it came up during consultation that she had it. And she was just feeling, since she'd had it, she was feeling very cold. She just couldn't warm up. So that was her main symptom, which I think was pretty mild considering her blood was looking like this. So the other thing I do besides live blood analysis is dry blood analysis. And this I can offer to anyone, anywhere around the world, because with live blood analysis, people have to come to me to see the blood, obviously. It's a live sample, which is looking at cellular morphology. But when we're looking at dry blood analysis, it's to do with coagulation morphology, which is still very interesting. So there's a completely different look between a healthy blood sample that dries compared to an unhealthy blood sample that dries. So we should have no gaps. We should have a really strong fibrin formation that's slightly different in the dry blood sample compared to live. We want to see that a fibrin all closely knitted together. But here we can see this is the worst stage where there's a lot of gaps. So people who have a lot of oxidative stress or toxins within their system will have a completely different picture. So dry blood analysis can pick up on a number of different conditions as well, including viral infections. So if somebody has had the injection or is suffering from a viral infection, that will show up in the dry blood sample as well. So when we're talking about heavy metal toxicity, in a dry blood sample, we will see these rings, these dark rings on the outside of a layer, examples like that. And when we're looking at virals, infection, we'll see spikes into what we call these areas here, polymerized protein puddles. And again, here we've got a lot of gap we don't want to be seeing in these what we call steep cliffs. It just shows an element of toxicity within the system. And this is a bowel picture, someone who's got some bowel issues. So it's very interesting to see your blood, because it really does show an immediate picture of what's going on, with the client. So I just want to finish off saying, in 1903, Thomas Edison said the doctors of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patient into the care of the human frame in diet and in the causes of prevention of disease. Well, that was 1903. I think we're still getting there. But I think that is the way to go. We need to be looking more at our body and detoxing and being very careful with our diet going forward, because I think we're living in a much more dangerous time than we were in 1903, with the environment. So it's very, very important to be looking at yourself at a close-up level and to be detoxifying. Yeah.
Caroline, very many thanks. Profound. I think I'll just pull a few points out from what I've recognized there. I think, first of all, I'd say that the thing about Thomas Edison was that he was working with energy and not physical pharmaceuticals. So perhaps he was closer to, the way it should be, because he understood energy format in a non-physical form. He created, helped to work with a light bulb and electricity. So he was coming at it from a completely different way. Let's say that the Wellcome Institute might look at a problem. I like the pictures that you showed earlier. You talked about resonance. From a spiritual point of view, it's our belief that humanity will be transcending to the fifth dimension. And although I don't consider the fifth dimension to be what we would loosely call a light being, we have to make the movement. And the crystalline aspect that you were showing there really excited me, because you talked about harmonics. What I think is happening is, think about a ladder that's placed against a wall. And if you look at one of your pictures that you took there, each rung of the ladder is a separate harmonic frequency. And so if you look at that, you will see that moves up. That's the frequency chain. Yes, I accept that they are communicating with themselves, but I think it's more profound than that, Caroline. I think they're communicating with the body. I think they're communicating with the energy frequency of the body, and they will align differently in every individual body because everyone's different. So that was really exciting. I thought that the pictures that you showed, which we loosely, jokingly call the alien face, I thought they were absolutely, totally evil, and I absolutely was shocked to see that. And anything that people can do to try and get this stuff out of them, I really recommend they do. Now, you gave me some of this to test, because there's no way I would come on and do something unless I'd actually tried it and felt a lot better. So I do want to just say to the audience that I've tried it and I felt remarkably better, because we're all under attack here. So many of the CC members will be familiar with the blood microscopy, if I can say the word, because we did a thing regarding electromagnetic waves and how they affected the blood. So the audience, many of them will be familiar with that. I was shocked to see the pictures you showed that looked like springs. The red blood cells had coiled up like a spring. And when I was a kid, I used to have one of these spring things that you drop at the top of the stairs and it would go down the stairs. This came from America. And that reminded me of that. So I think that it's not just evidence, it's educational evidence. And I think anybody with half a brain who sees this is going to be deeply concerned and will want to try and do something. So here's the exciting part. This is exciting, but it's more exciting to say that you have something that will help. So I'd like you, please, to talk a bit about the products that will help.
Yeah, sure. We're talking about the Root Brand products. There's the Trinity. So there's 3 products in the Root Brand products, which have shown, if you have had this injection for whatever reason, it helps to completely clean your system up of these markers. So we're talking about the C-reactive protein, the inflammation marker, and also the pro-BNP, which is the inflammation marker for the heart. So anybody who's looking to really detox their body and clean up their body from the injections and from the actual virus itself, the 3 products involved are the Clean Slate, which is the zeolite product. So Dr. Christina Rahm has developed this product because she used to work in pharmaceutical in companies, and she knows how to get product into cell. She's a nanotech biologist. So she's worked on these zeolite crystals which includes vitamin C and minerals. And so she knows how to get that into cell to get these heavy metals out of our cells and out of our body. There's also another product called Restore, which is powerful anti-inflammatory and also helps to heal the gut. So when we're looking at any type of detoxification program, the gut plays a huge role. So and then the third product is the Zero In, which is an amazing product. Have you tried the Zero In, Simon?
I've got it. I haven't yet tried it because I was just working on the other two and I didn't want to sort of go straight from one to the next.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Zero In is what it does, what it says, it zeroes in your focus. So it's like an amazing product that helps your attention. It helps to boost your serotonin and dopamine levels. So it helps with focus. It helps with boosting your mood. It also helps people with sleep, because when we sleep is another time when we detox, especially our brain through the lymphatic system. So we want to be having as much sleep as possible when we're on any type of detox program. So the Zero In comes into its own in that way as well. But there's been a lot of research done on these three products and a lot of clinicians around the world showing that the markers before and after 30 days of taking these three products help to completely detox your body of the injection or the side effects of the injection or the inflammatory markers. Yeah.
Well, that's really, really very helpful. Now, I know that Andy's going to be very kind and put this on the site, and there'll be a link so that people can click on that and go and have a look at it. I think there'll be a lot of people, even in CC, who will still be more than just mildly alarmed at what you've shown. I've never seen the thing with the magnet. That's brand new. No one else has ever shown me that. And, you know, it will definitely make people ask the question, never mind what the officials say, you know, why is that in that product? And even if there appears to be a very good reason for it, Caroline, you know, there are a lot of people that have to take antibiotics regularly. And I mean, you know, where the hell is all that stuff going? So, you know, I think those people, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, I did some research on that. And they say that it does actually, you know, clear through the kidneys and the liver. But, you know, there's not a lot of research done on that detoxification of that particular, you know, iron oxide magnetized nanoparticles.
No, and why would anybody want their liver and poor old kidneys to have to go through all that process? We weren't designed to chomp through metal. So I think that people will really want to give this a go. It's quite shocking. It's worse than a horror film, actually. I don't mean that disrespectfully, because you needed to do this, but it's horrifying. And I'm sure, goodness to me, that this doesn't appear on any of the bits of literature that we get when we go to the doctor and, you know, he or she gives us these tablets. I don't think that they ever tell us what you've just told us.
Well, you think it's in the tablet, but now this is in the capsule. I think you always thought the capsule was just, you know, something you didn't even have to think about, but you know, you have to think about the whole tablet now. It's not just what the drug is, you know, it's what's encasing the drug. And just as a little bit of more intel, I saw another video online, somebody showing that a vitamin D supplement made by an Australian brand was also showing the same magnetic pull from the outside of the capsule. It's a gelatin capsule. So I couldn't buy it here in England. So I ordered it from Australia. It took 3 weeks to arrive and it just arrived yesterday. So I took it out of its packet, and yes, the outside of this vitamin D capsule also is magnetized. So I'm going to spend the next few days doing some experiments on this as well.
So right, well, what that tells me then is that best is to move to the liquid, the vitamin D liquid.
Yeah, very true.
Well, that's a great warning. Thank you. Well, you know, the audience, Caroline, are going to really love what you've brought to them, and I really would want you to come back again to, you know, tell us more about what you found, or you know, the audience really will. They'll be very keen for you to come back and do another presentation.
Well, as I get more intel, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, what may well happen is that CC members will watch this and they will have a question. So I'm going to say to CC members, would you please put them forward to your country coordinator, and then your country coordinator will send them to your continental coordinator, and the continental coordinators will then probably send them to my PA. If you send them to my PA, and then what we can do, Caroline, is that when those questions come up, I can choose a few, and then you can have a go at answering them. Because there'll be medical technical questions, I'll let you have them beforehand. But then you would be answering the questions from the people directly. The people will be asking you questions, and I think that would be really helpful. It's something that mainstream medicine doesn't do. They don't want to engage with people. So would you be all right if we did that?
I'd be more than happy. I love questions, just makes you delve a bit deeper and look at things maybe I didn't think about.
Well, that's lovely. Is there anything else that we need to cover, or have you shocked us enough?
I think I've probably shocked you enough for today. I mean, I haven't gone into great detail about, about nutrition or, about the products, but I think we've, I just wanted to cover what I've discovered and just give the big picture really today.
Oh no, I think what you've shown is world shocking. It's world shocking because it's it's another sign for me how we the people have given our trust over to faceless bureaucracies, and perhaps it wasn't really the right thing to do. Now you're not faceless. Here you are. You're Caroline, and you are working for the betterment of humanity. And I do strongly urge people to research more and to buy these products, because if this poison is out there, we need to do something about it. So very many thanks.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to show it to your members.
Well, very grateful. They will be very grateful, because most of them won't be aware of that. I wasn't aware of it until you showed me that, and that's knowledge is power. We need to take back our own lives. So very grateful to you. So please come back and visit us again not too far in the future.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you.
Okay. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.